I think I wanted to just use the whole song. I think I didn't want to chop up the song. Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. Etch BX says, I'm excited to catch one of your live streams. Are you going to debate right-wingers? No. I'm sure I'm going to disagree with right-wingers, but I'm not going to be debating them. I'm going to be asking them questions, though, certainly. I sure hope you can see the pinned comment in the chat because I'm inviting right-wingers to come on to the stream. This is a traditionally quite progressive space, but I want to hear from y'all. A pretty tragic thing just happened, and I'm seeing the usual chaos being sown by media agencies, and I think it's nonsense. I think you all are human beings and should be treated as such. And I think you've got some serious concerns because you just saw something quite traumatic. And you're probably, some of you at least, checking in with progressives to see how we feel about it. And if you suspected that there was not a tear shed for Charlie Kirk, you're correct. But boy, I was trying everything possible that I could do to prevent what happened from happening. And I don't think you get that impression based on the media I see you guys consuming. But you know what? If all I know about you is what somebody else says about you, and if all you know about me is what somebody else says about me, well, we are going to be at the mercy of people who tell us what the world's like. So instead, I'm offering you the opportunity, right-wingers, to jump onto this stream and give me your opinions on the passing of Charlie Kirk. I think there's something to be gained here. And I'd also like to answer any of the questions you may have about how the left feels about this. Why? Why, oh, why? Are people celebrating, for example? I think it's a fair question for a right-winger to have. a conservative to have. Why are we saying "I told you so"? You might not even know why we think this is grimly humorous. It's not ha funny. It's funny like uh, the way a crime scene is not what you'd expect to see, no matter what you think you're ready for. Um, I'd be happy to answer some of that, but I think we should talk, and I think it should be face to face. And I don't think I should have the advantage of just reading your texts, your chat, but I will be happy to until we have somebody who is ready to go. I suppose, though, you should have some sense of how I feel about Charlie Kirk. And how I feel about him is this: he died as he lived, as literally as has ever been. He was very specifically, in the moment he was killed, a person asked him about violent gun deaths, about mass shootings in America. And he tried to deflect the blame for that onto minority communities. And I'm making a lot of assumptions based off what his last words are, but I've had to my chagrin, I've had to follow his career professionally myself for many years, and I know the arguments he makes at these colleges. And he was saying, well, is that separate from gang shootings? The intention of Mr. Kirk in that moment was to get those Utah students thinking about black folks and what we can do about black folks, not guns, but black folks, or maybe brown folks, or whatever the target of the day is, so that we did not pass real legislation that would stop mentally unwell people from operating firearms, having access to them. And as he was doing that, somebody shot him from, I guess, 200 yards away. That's a freaking good shot. And it can't probably be done with any sort of reliability with a pistol. Certainly not with a shotgun. Apparently, with a fine bolt-action rifle, it could be done. And so he passed. And we're not trying to be cruel, but the irony, I mean, you might find it funny or not. Either way, it's inappropriate to laugh at the irony. But it does smack of irony that he was in the process of creating the very climate in this country that killed it. And the political motivations of the person that killed him are irrelevant, or rather, they should be irrelevant. They simply shouldn't have had the ability. It shouldn't matter how much you disagree with somebody politically. They should not have the ability to do what they did in front of his wife and children. Terrible. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry we all saw that. But he was arguing for it at the very moment that it happened. In fact, I believe it was Charlie Kirk that said, it is worth some... No, he said, it is worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment. It's worth some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment. I don't agree with the premise. I don't agree that it's worth that necessarily. I also don't agree that it is necessary to have gun deaths and the Second Amendment. And I think it's time we start classifying guns by era in which they were invented, perhaps. Uh, I'm fine with anybody having a flintlock pistol so long as it is unloaded most of the time. I'm fine with most people, but not everybody, having a revolver because they tend not to jam. They're very easy to unload. They're very easy to see if they are loaded without in just trying to stare down the barrel. There's a lot of practical reasons I think it's fine for most people to have a revolver. I think most people should not have a high capacity rifle of any kind. I think most people should have, unless it's limited by, say, a bolt action, uh, severely limited. I would say that not everybody should be allowed to have a high capacity rifle. You shouldn't be able to carry around 30 rounds, 30 shots. If you were trying to get a deer, it's gone already. 30 shots, not necessary unless you have a license, unless you agree to a basic evaluation no different than we would give somebody who's going to join the military. And we're checking to see, can I trust this dude with a mortar? Can we put a mortar in this person's hands and trust that he's not going to drop it and kill a whole squad the very moment he's handed it? I think that's reasonable. I do. Matt Ward, yes, to protect our other rights. In fairness, he did say that. But again, I don't agree with the premise. I don't think in the age of tanks, much less drones, much less aircraft in general. I mean, I don't think that's helping us maintain any of our rights at all. No, DJX, there have not been any right wingers that have called in. Although, you know what? Since we don't have any on the line, I've got 15 people watching, and I'm delighted by that. Truth be told, but I don't know that this is real. I don't know if I'm in the vertical stream. Oh, I am in the vertical stream. Okay, good. I had to check that. Yeah, so all I can. Ooh, you know what I should have done just now? I'm going to change that message a little bit. Stand by. Unpin. Conservatives call in. This is pretty good right here. This is pretty good. What do you call it? Streaming. How did I go up by 3? All right, whatever. Anyway, yes, I'm inviting conservatives to call in whenever they do so, please, to discuss the passing of Charlie Kirk. I also note that there have been a great many irresponsible media figures, entirely from what I've seen on the right, unless you count Cenk Uygur as a leftist, jumping to conclusions about who the shooter was. First of all, let's just point out it's the incompetence of MAGA FBI that resulted in the shooter escaping. I guess you could call that the incompetence of whoever did security for Charlie Kirk, and well, that's, I guess, protecting him. It'd be the incompetence of the local cops. I assume conservative. Sorry, but I assume. But certainly the incompetence of MAGA FBI that he has not been found yet. This was a person who was apparently seen on video from multiple angles. They still haven't found it. But let me also point out something. Nick Fuentes viewers, you know, the Groypers, the far right actual Nazi extremists, those dudes, they hate Charlie Kirk. Now, why do you know it was not a Groyper? Why why is it acceptable that these people are speculating about left-wingers when there's a very obvious group of suspects? The Groypers. Do I think it was one of them? I don't know. I mean, it was done competently, this assassination. So no, I don't think it was a Nick Fuentes viewer, just on gut instinct. But there's a lot of people other than lefties that it could have been. And I'm not here to make a case for or against either group. I'm here to point out to you that the people who have been telling you, oh, it must be this group of people, you should never listen to anything they have to say again. You should judge them for how they behave in a moment like this, where we truly do not know. Genuinely, we don't know who did it. And if somebody has told you not only that a certain group did it when we don't have a suspect in custody, a certain group did it. Single shooter, by the way. Don't even know that a group was involved, but a certain group did it. And you should behave a certain way to that group. When we don't have anyone in custody, and there are many competing interests that could have done it, that is somebody you never listen to ever again. Because if they are being that irresponsible in this moment, they are never going to be worth your time. Not ever. They have judgment that is poor. And you should not have them in your feed for when a real emergency happens. Because they will give you bad advice. They are giving you bad advice this very night. Matt Ward says, Mace said the Democrats own it. I don't know why the Democrats would own it. I do not know why. Nick Fuentes, as I pointed out, hates Charlie Kirk. And if you are a right-winger and you're patient enough to listen to me, thank you. And now ask yourself honestly, before looking it up, what was the political affiliation of the two people that tried to assassinate candidate Trump when he was ex-President Trump and was about to become President Trump again? What was the political affiliation of these folks? It was Republican. They were both conservatives. Let me say that again, because I'm sure you have not been told that by the organizations that you think of as news outlets. Both of the attempted assassins for President Trump were conservatives. Now, that wasn't much of a shock to lefties. And it is so much of a shock to conservatives that I bet this is the first time you're hearing it. I bet that was kept from you because it would look terrible for the worldview you've been asked to accept. But you can look it up. It's publicly available information. Thomas Crooks, the other guy, both pretty much lifelong conservatives. Why wasn't this a surprise to progressives? Well, because we don't do that. We have morals. We believe when we say we want to help you. When we say our politics are not about hurting you, but simply about helping you and everybody else. When we say that, we're not lying to you. And I know you're braced for lies constantly because you're surrounded by them constantly, but you're surrounded by them constantly because you run defense for liars. Both of the attempted assassins of President Trump were conservatives. They were both lifelong Republicans. Look it up. But What did the people you listen to tell you about him? I bet they didn't tell you that. What are they telling you now when we don't know anything about the shooter of Kirk or their motives? We don't even know if it was a man or a woman. That's how little we know. What are your people telling you now? Were they telling you it was me and people like me? I called Kirk a Nazi. I called him a Nazi on the night of his death. Were they telling you it was my fault? How could they know that? Not saying it was or wasn't, but how could they know that? They could not. And they do not. And yet they told you to act in an extreme way. Look at that. They told you an extreme thing has happened. We're blaming these people. You must act in an extreme way. That's what they said to you. Why? You wonder where the shooters come from? Right there. They come from people living a whole life the way you're living right now, getting lied to about drastic things, having no contact with the people that they are being lied to about, and then finally saying, well, if things are so drastic, if things are as drastic as these liars I listen to have been telling me, I have to do something drastic. I'm going to go do something drastic. That is what happens again and again. We can stop this tonight. Call in. Let's have a talk face to face or possibly forehead to chin. I don't know how a vertical setup is going to work, but I'm excited to try. Let's talk with the wicked community. Army of Futzak, please help me out here. Am I saying that correctly? Is it Futzak? We'll see. It makes no difference what the political beliefs of the perpetrator are. The fact is, it shouldn't have happened in the first place. Humanity is worth more than politics. I agree. Truly, the politics of the shooter are irrelevant because we can't, not even for shoulda, coulda reasons, but because we do need to make sure. Even though I despise Charlie Kirk, I want to make sure that what happened to him can't happen to Ben Shapiro. Can't happen to what other demons do you guys worship? Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan. All these people that lie to you all regularly and, scam you out of money, convince you to kill your relatives with COVID, all that stuff. I don't think they deserve death. And even if they did, this would not be the way to dole it out. I don't think they deserve that. I, in fact, think that should be something we all unite in fighting against for every creature we possibly can. But even if I thought that's what they deserve, this wouldn't be the way to do it. I don't want just some guy on a roof doing this stuff. No. So let's make it not possible to happen again. Let's just make it not possible to happen, or at least much less likely. No matter what political affiliation this person had, and by the way, almost every shooter, I will say this again, almost every shooter is a conservative, including the trans lady most recently. She was trans, but conservative. Apparently, they exist. Almost every shooter is conservative, but it's kind of irrelevant because the solution to mass shooters has nothing to do with attacking somebody's politics. Because also, what every single shooter was mentally unwell. They were not in a mental state to be possessing a gun. And there are about 100 little reasonable things we can do to ensure that somebody who is not in a mental state to have a gun does not have a gun. Including, things as simple as saying you require a license to own certain firearms. And that license might simply require you to take a test that shows how to store it safely so your crazy cousin can't steal it out of your barn. To show that you know where the safety is, that you have some sense of what the penetrating power of the bullets it fires are, so that if you do ever use it in home defense, you're not accidentally firing a high powered military rifle with a little bullet and a ton of powder behind it that punches through things. You're not firing that through your suburban drywall, through your aluminum siding on your house, and then into your neighbor's baby skull. That kind of licensing should be required. So there's just less of these things bouncing around out there. So yes, the political affiliation does not matter because we need laws that handle human beings, not political parties. Good evening, Saucy Sea Witch. Saucy Sea Witch says, the right wing can't brag about having guns and wanting to hurt people who are woke and then complain when shit hits the fan on their side too. Either they want violence or they don't. Here's the thing. I think we are doing the same thing they are doing at the same time. Because there were heathens on TikTok celebrating this death, and I get it. Charlie Kirk was an evil human being. I do get it. But it's done, you don't do it. Don't do that. Don't celebrate death. Don't encourage people randomly shooting other people in society. It's just evil. However, we're not all those people. Nor are they, the point is, you can call the left many, many people, but you can't hold everyone in the left wingers, responsible for the behavior of everybody else. Similarly, the right wingers who brag about having guns and wanting to hurt people, who are woke, they might not be the ones complaining about shit hitting the fan. And I'm saying all this wind up because I'm about to agree with you very hard. They may not be the ones complaining. And I specifically want to talk to the right wingers who are complaining about when shit hits the fan. Because I suspect that they are not fans of the right wingers who brag about having guns and wanting to hurt people who are woke. I don't think those two groups of right wingers get along. Now, the part I really agree with you about is I do think a whole lot of the right wingers who brag about having guns and want to hurt people who are woke are right now pretending to be angry that this has hit the fan on their side as well. So be on the lookout for them, because they are going to try to inflame and they're going to try to drive a wedge between us and the sincere right wingers who are looking for solutions. I have solutions to offer. I'd like to discuss them with you. And you know what? It's the opposite of what Charlie Kirk was arguing for when he died. So I imagine we'll be in disagreement. But if either of us even suspects we might have a plan that will stop the next father from getting gunned down in front of his wife and children, or the next group of Colorado school kids from getting shot up when they were trying to learn math or whatever, we should listen. We should listen to each other. So right wingers, I'm begging you. I'm just begging you. Call in. Use the link. It'll send you to StreamYard. You'll pop up on the screen with me, and we'll just talk. It works on your cell phone. It's the easiest thing in the world. We'll just talk for a minute. Good evening, Saucy Sea Witch. The only reason why I'm here in particular, says Donald James X, is because I don't get to see Jake that much. Oh, dude, I'm sorry. It's been wild. Darth Skrios, not a fan of Kurt Cobain. Well, gang, we tried. We tried. I don't see anybody joining. I'll try to figure out a way to get folks to call in who are right wingers. I thought vertical video might help, but it didn't. Love y'all. See ya. And DJX, we can just Discord chat or whatever. Hit me up when apps.